Hello students, welcome to this class of BA Part 1st English Literature. I am Dr. S.S.Vaidwan, Department of English, and today, dear students, we'll talk about the play Merchant of Venice, written by William Shakespeare, the most influential writer in all of the English literature. The famous playwright William Shakespeare was born in 1564 to a successful middle class Glover in Stanford-upon-Avon, England. Shakespeare he only attended grammar school, but his formal education proceeded no further. In 1582, he married an older woman, Anne Hathaway, and had 3 children with her. Around 1590s, he left his family behind and traveled to London to work as an actor and playwright. So, his movement from Stratford-upon-Avon to London was remarkable, and public and critical acclaim quickly followed Shakespeare, and eventually he became the most popular playwright in England and part owner of the Globe Theatre in London. His career bridged the reigns of Queen Elizabeth I, who ruled from 1558 to 1603, and James I, who ruled from 1603 to 1625. And he was a favorite of both the monarchs, both Queen Elizabeth and James I. Indeed, James I granted Shakespeare's company the greatest possible compliment by bestowing upon him, its members, the title of King's Man. So, Shakespeare he retired to Stratford and died in 1616 at the age of 52. The important works of Shakespeare, they are collected and printed in various editions in the century, and he is one of the masters of English playwright who has no doubt given much vocabulary, more words, enriched English language. Shakespeare's personal history is shrouded in mystery. We don't have any accurate picture of this great man, but some people have concluded from the fact that Shakespeare's moderate education, that Shakespeare plays were actually written by someone else. Some of the critics they put forward this argument, but it is of no vein. So, in the absence of any credible evidence, we cannot take this argument. Shakespeare he wrote 37 plays, including the 4 great tragedies, tragicomedies, comedies, and history plays. In all, he wrote 37 plays and 154 sonnets that bears his name. A number of Shakespeare plays, they have been made into films. And today, dear students, we'll talk about the play The Merchant of Venice. This play, Merchant of Venice, was written in 1596 or 1597, and it was written after Romeo and Juliet and Richard III. The play Merchant of Venice is set, it has Italian settings, and marriage plot are typical to Shakespeare's earlier comedies also, but the character of Portia is very important. Shakespeare's first great heroine and the unforgettable villain Shylock elevate this play to a new level. So these two characters, the character of Portia and the character of Shylock, they are remarkable creations of Shakespeare. Shylock, he cries for a pound of flesh, have made him one of the literature's most memorable villains. But many readers and critics, they have found him a compelling and sympathetic figure also. The question of whether or not Shakespeare endorses this anti-Semitism of the Christian characters in the play has been much debated. Most of the critics, some are in favor, some are against it. But Shakespeare, he has depicted this character of Shylock as a complex character than the Jew in Marlowe's play. Shakespeare make him seem more human by showing that his hatred is born of the mistreatment he has suffered in the Christian society. The play, overall play, let us discuss the plot, the overview of this play Merchant of Venice. Dear students, the play opens with Antonio, who is a merchant of Venice, and he complains to his friends of a melancholy that he cannot explain. His friend Bassanio is desperately in need of money to court Portia, a wealthy heiress who lives in the city of Belmont. Bassanio asks Antonio for a loan in order to travel in style to Portia's estate. Antonio agrees to help his friend, and he says that as I have invested all my monies in the trade ships that are still at sea, he suggests that Bassanio secure the loan from one of the city's moneylenders and name Antonio as the loan's guarantor. So Antonio, he agrees to be the guarantor of loan, and this loan is taken from Shylock. So Shylock, he agrees, a Jewish moneylender, he agrees to give a loan. Shylock nurses a long-standing grudge. He had a grudge against Antonio, who has made a habit of berating Shylock and other Jews for their usury, the practice of loaning money at exorbitant rates, at higher rates. So Antonio refuses to apologize for his behavior. Shylock, he acts agreeably and offers to lend Bassanio 3,000 ducats with no interest. And Shylock, he says that, however, I will give you the loan, but that loan should not go unpaid. It should be returned in due time. And he says that otherwise, if the loan is not paid in time, Shylock will be entitled for a pound of Antonio's flesh. So, despite Bassanio's warning, Antonio, he agrees to sign the bond, and Shylock, he is very happy that now he will take a revenge upon Antonio. Portia in Belmont, she welcomes the Prince of Morocco and the Prince of Aragon, who are the suitors to Portia, and this important casket scene takes place. There also Bassanio arrives at her estate and they declare their love for one another. Bassanio, he immediately picks the correct casket, which is made of lead. He and Portia rejoice, and Gratiano confesses that he has fallen in love with Nerissa. So the plot goes on, and then there is the ring episode. But the final episode is, and the most important episode is, the court scene. Antonio, he lost his ships, and that he has forfeited his bond to Shylock. Bassanio and Gratiano, they immediately travel to Venice to try and save Antonio's life. After they leave, Portia tells Nerissa that they will go to Venice disguised as men. So another important characteristic of this play is that both Portia and Nerissa, they go to Venice disguised as men. Shylock, he ignores the many pleas to spare Antonio's life. He is not in a mood to spare his life, and a trial is called to decide the matter. So this trial, it takes place in the court of the Duke of Venice, who presides over the trial, and he announces that he has sent for a legal expert, who turns out to be Portia disguised as a young man of law. Portia asks Shylock to show mercy, but he remains inflexible and insists the pound of flesh is rightfully his. He says that as he has forfeited his bond, so I will take a pound of flesh. Bassanio offers Shylock twice the money, but he is in no mood to take the money. Shylock insists on collecting the bond as it is written by Antonio. Portia, she examines the contract and, finding it legally binding, declares that Shylock is entitled to the merchant's flesh, Antonio's flesh. He can extract a pound of flesh from Antonio. Shylock, he praises the wisdom of Portia, disguised as a young lawyer. But as he is on the verge of collecting his due, that is the pound of flesh, Portia reminds him that he must do so without causing Antonio to bleed. Says that it is not written in the contract. So Shylock is trapped by this logic. Shylock hastily agrees to take Bassanio's money instead. And Portia, she insists that Shylock take his bond as written or nothing at all. So, with her arguments, Portia informs Shylock that he is guilty of conspiring against the life of a Venetian citizen, which means he must turn over half of his property to the state and the other half to Antonio. So, the play, the trial scene, it unfolds, and ultimately it ends with the joyful news of the arrival of Antonio's ships, that all his ships, they have made it back safely to the harbor, and the play ends on a happy note. Dear students, I hope you have understood the plot overview of this important play, The Merchant of Venice. We'll start with another discussion in the next video. Thank you very much.